Good morning. I'm back in New York City near Herald Square. Thought today I'd talk for a moment about this concept, continuing on the concept of the accounting rules, but linking it to a couple other videos, the Show Me the Money and the Requirements Are in the Data videos. See, it's to build accounting rules, the key aspect that how the accounting rules are going to execute is going to be based upon the transactional data it's going to interact with. If you could add a whole bunch of values into accounting rules or into extract rules, either way, that don't ever occur in the source data in any way. You could blow it up to have thousands of source keys, key values on our accounting rules, our extract rules table, that never show up in the transactional data, and they'd never get executed. They'd be useless. There's no reason to have those values. The other alternative is that you have a whole bunch of values in the transaction data that don't occur anywhere in the rules, which depending upon the way the system is constructed, may mean that those transactions result in no outputs of any kind, or they result in a suspense or reject output. Those sorts of conditions typically mean the rules are wrong in some way, unless you're using rules to do selection processes. This intersection between the actual transaction data or the master file, depending upon the case, and the rules themselves is where the rub comes in all of this work. In developing accounting rules, then, the quality of the accounting rules are going to be highly determined by the quantity and variability of the data that are used in developing them. If you use a small set of data, say 10, 15 transactions, when you go and run that against a few million transactions, if your sample's a poor sample, it's going to be useless. Developing accounting rules against very large volumes of data is difficult to do because it just takes so long to run machines to get some reaction, so difficult to deal with very large files in a productive way in the iterative nature of a show me the money or a requirements are in the data sort of exercise. So you have to balance this, right? Probably using small sets of data, but using those very different kinds of small sets of data over different days, different periods, whatever it is, in building up the accounting rules to have the results. And how do you test the results? Well, the results are really, it's looking at the outputs and verifying that those outputs make sense. For example, if we had a set of outputs where, we have 10, 15 records or something of that sort that each get mapped into their own different single category on the translation process, and then you have a couple million that get mapped into a single category. So that ends up with a very large balance. Typically, that's not something that indicates you have very good accounting rules, because you've lost so much visibility from all of the large number of transactions that have now been mapped into a single location, and you have high visibility on a very small number of transactions that question why those are so important. So analysis of the outputs, use of the outputs for your reporting purpose, for your analytical purposes, that's the best determination of the quality of those accounting rules, or the extract rules as it may be. I hope you can kind of see this iterative nature of show me the money, requirements are in the data, the building up of these accounting rules and extract rules over time, the testing of the outputs and analyzing how those outputs, the quality of them, and how they are usable, if they meet the reporting requirements and are useful for analytical purposes. All of those things go into this process of building a rule-based process within any sort of processing engine, particularly a metric engine.